Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. This is the second part of 10th grade history chapter Nationalism in India. Today we are going to learn about the non-cooperation movement, one of the most important phases in the Indian struggle for independence. We will cover participation of different social groups and their idea of Swaraj, the movement in towns and its limitations, rebellion in the countryside, Bardoli Satyagraha, Swaraj in the plantations, why the movement was withdrawn, its advantages and disadvantages. The non-cooperation movement started in January 1921 under Mahatma Gandhi. It was combined with the Khilafat movement, so it was also called the non-cooperation Khilafat movement. The goal was to peacefully resist British rule by not cooperating with their institutions. Simple idea: don't work for them, don't support them. Now, various social groups participated in this movement, such as the urban middle class, comprising of students, teachers, lawyers, merchants, and traders. Then there were peasants, tribal communities, and plantation workers. They all interpreted Swaraj differently. For some, it meant self-rule, for others, land, freedom from taxes, or returning home. In the beginning, cities saw a huge wave of participation, especially by the middle class. Thousands of students left government-controlled schools and colleges. Headmasters and teachers resigned, and lawyers gave up their legal practices. In fact, council elections were also boycotted, except in Madras, where Justice Party, the party of the non-Brahmins, did take part in elections. They wanted more power for non-Brahmins who were usually left out of government roles. On the economic front, foreign goods were boycotted, liquor shops were picketed, foreign cloth burnt in huge bonfires. The import of foreign cloth got reduced by almost 50% between 1921 and 1922. Its value dropping from 102 crore to 57 crore rupees. Merchants and traders refused to trade in foreign goods or finance foreign trade and focused on increasing the production of Indian textile units and handlooms. People began discarding imported clothes and preferred wearing Indian ones to support the movement. While the non-cooperation movement started strong in cities, it could not sustain itself for long because of practical challenges, especially for the poor and working classes. The initial excitement died down eventually. Khadi, which was the Indian hand-spun cloth, was often more expensive than the mass-produced British mill cloth, and poor people could not afford to buy it, so they couldn't boycott mill cloth for too long. Also, alternative Indian institutions had to be set up so that they could replace the British ones. These were slow to come. So students and teachers began to go back to government schools. Lawyers joined back work in government courts. Non-cooperation movement also drew into its fold the struggles of peasants and tribals. In Awadh, which is the present-day Uttar Pradesh, peasants were led by Baba Ramchandra, a sannyasi who had earlier been to Fiji as an indentured labourer. Now, an indentured labourer is someone who agrees to work for a specific period, usually without pay, in exchange for a debt or other obligation. Now, he had faced oppression closely and hence took up the leadership of the peasant movement. The movement here was not directly against the British, but it was against the oppressive landlords. The peasant movement demanded reduction of revenue, abolition of beggar, which is forced labor, and social boycott of oppressive landlords. Interestingly, in many places, Nai Dhobi bands were organized. So, barbers and washermen stopped working for landlords. Now, to integrate the Awadh peasant struggle into the wider national movement, Congress set up the Awadh Kisan Sabha, which was led by Jawaharlal Nehru, Baba Ramchandra, and few others. Within a month, it expanded to 300 branches in the villages around the region. It became popular. However, Congress was unhappy with the way the peasant movement turned out in Awadh, because it was getting violent and aggressive. The houses of landlords and merchants were being attacked, bazaars were looted, and hoarded grains were taken. A lot of times, local leaders instigated peasants by misusing Gandhiji's name. For example, they would say that Gandhiji had declared that no taxes were to be paid and land was to be redistributed among the poor. But not all peasant movements failed. In 1928 Gujarat, Vallabhbhai Patel led the Bardoli Satyagraha, where peasants protested against land revenue hikes. It was peaceful and well organized, and it got nationwide support. Now let's discuss source B. Now this is on 6th January 1921 in Rai Bareli, which is like the present day UP. Police fired on protesting peasants. Jawaharlal Nehru tried to visit the site and tried to control the situation, but he was stopped by the police. Disturbed by the violence, he addressed the gathered peasants there. Nehru admitted feeling a moment of anger that nearly made him forget non-violence. But he quickly regained control, inspired by Mahatma Gandhi's ideas and the calmness of the peasants. He spoke to them about non-violence, and they peacefully dispersed. This incident highlighted the powerful influence of Gandhiji's teachings among the peasants. So this was the initial phase when the movement was much more controlled and non-violent. Now similarly, tribal peasants also interpreted the message of Mahatma Gandhi and the idea of Swaraj in yet another way. For instance, a militant guerrilla movement spread in the early 1920s in the Godem hills of Andhra Pradesh. Again, not a form of struggle that the Congress approved. Guerrilla warfare is a type of fighting where small groups of fighters use hit and run tactics instead of open battles. So they don't fight in large armies, instead they would hide in forests or mountains, attack suddenly and disappear quickly. They will target police stations, supply lines or enemy camps. Now it is often used when people are fighting against a stronger army like the British. Tribals especially were good at it because they knew the forests well and could hide and attack accordingly. Now, because of the imposition of forest laws, tribals had no access to the forest to graze their cattle or to collect fuel wood and fruits, etc. Not only were their livelihoods affected, but they felt that their traditional rights were also being denied. When the British government began forcing them to contribute beggar for road building, the tribals had enough and they revolted. Alluri Sitaram Raju became the leader of the tribal peasants. There's a movie, RRR, it is around his character. So now tribal peasants followed him so blindly that they believed he had a variety of special powers and proclaimed that he was an incarnation of God. So much of blind faith. Sitaram Raju talked of the greatness of Mahatma Gandhi, said he was inspired by the non-cooperation movement, and he persuaded people to wear khadi and give up drinking. However, he asserted that India could be liberated only by the use of force, not non-violence. The Godem rebels, who followed Sitaram Raju blindly, attacked police stations, attempted to kill British officials, and carried on guerrilla warfare for achieving Swaraj. Later, Sitaram Raju was captured and executed in 1924 and over time became a folk hero. Now, similarly, plantation workers too had their own understanding of Mahatma Gandhi and the notion of Swaraj. Under the Inland Immigration Act of 1859, plantation workers were not permitted to leave the tea gardens without permission. And in fact, they would rarely give in such permission. Plantation workers in Assam heard of the non-cooperation movement, and thousands of them defied the authorities, left the plantations and headed home. They believed that Gandhi Raj was coming and everyone would be given land in their own villages. However, they got stranded on the way by a railway and steamer strike. They were caught by the police and brutally beaten up. Why was the non-cooperation movement called off? So in February 1922, Mahatma Gandhi decided to withdraw the non-cooperation movement. He felt that the movement was turning violent in many places. For instance, at Chauri Chaura in Gorakhpur, a peaceful demonstration in a bazaar turned violent, and protesters burned down a police station, killing policemen. He felt that satyagrahis needed to be properly trained before they would be ready for mass struggles, as their interpretations of the movement ended up taking a violent and aggressive turn. Non-cooperation movement definitely had limitations. The visions and goals of many local group movements were not aligned with the official Congress program. This lack of uniform understanding led to violence, misdirection in several areas. Moreover, Congress was often unable to control the radical and militant expressions of the movement. However, we can't deny that the non-cooperation movement did create an impact. Under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi and the Congress, participation by the social groups extended the reach of the movement beyond local or regional struggles and made it a larger national movement. So it did help in mobilizing masses across diverse regions and backgrounds under a common cause. The non-cooperation movement was not a full success, but it was a major step forward in India's freedom struggle. It showed Indians that mass participation and unity could challenge British power. That's all for today. Stay tuned for part 3. You will find the notes on your screen now. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss more cool history lessons. If you have got questions, drop them in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep making history fun. Thank you.